was written in 1935. Uh, and they said that it is true. It is very much true. And we expect Gandhiji and Ambedkar and Baswana and Buddha, everyone should get incarnation to change this world and to change this society. Really, some of the backward classes people still they are suffering hard after we are in the 21st century, and we used to say that we technologically very much developed, but still we are facing so much of discrimination, humiliation, exploitation, many more. That's why I have chosen this topic. And once again, thanks to this Mahatma Phule Mahavidyalaya. Sir, will you able to share my PPT, sir?
No, ma'am, you can share now. Don't worry. You just go to share button and you just
no, sir. I have joined through the mobile. It is in the laptop. It's not happening,
okay.
Sir?
I will share.
Okay, sir. Okay. Mulk, just I told you that already. I'm going to talk about Mulk Raj Anand and the novel before going to talk about my topic. Mulk Raj Anand, who we can justifiably describe as the grand old man of Indo-Anglican fiction, was born on the 12th December 1905 in the Peshawar, the capital city of Northwest Frontier province of India, before the country's partition. He belongs to trio of Indian English literature, considered a pioneer of Anglo-Indian fiction. His writings reveal the deep influence of Gandhian philosophy and an exploration of Gandhi's thoughts. He is best remembered for his depiction of the poorer classes of the people in India and their plight. His writings are rich with realistic and touching portrayal of the problems of the common man, often written with wrenching clarity. E.M. Foster, a famous English author, in the preface of Untouchable, observes that Baka is a real individual, lovable, wanted, sometimes grand, sometimes weak, and thoroughly Indian. Even his physique is distinctive. We can recognize broad, intelligent face, graceful torso. Has he done nasty job? Or stumps out in artillery books in the hope of a pleasant walk through the city with a paper of cheap sweets in his hands. Untouchable was Anand's first attempt at novel writing, and it proved to be a great success in the long run. The shortest of all his novels, it perhaps made the most effective impact on Indian readers. The theme of this novel is the evil of untouchability in India, and the novel records the experiences of an 18-year-old sweeper boy in the course of a single day in a town which Anand has given the name of Bulandshahr. The sweeper boy name is Baka. His work of keeping the public latrines of the town clean is not only very tedious and laborious, but also most degrading because it exposes him to the contempt of the caste Hindus and renders him an untouchable. I already mentioned that Baka is an 18-year-old boy. Actually, these are the incident which was happened only in a single day, and he lives he in a outcast colony which was situated outside the town of Bulandshahr. This colony situated at some distance both from the town and from the cantonment, where colony was inhabited by scavengers, leather workers, washermen, barbers, water carriers, grass cutters, and other outcasts from a Hindu society. The squalor of this colony was hideous, and the smell from it was most foul and offensive. Baka was the son of Laka, the Jamedar of all the sweepers in the town and the cantonment. Baka's chief duty was to keep the 3 rows of public latrines clean. These latrines were used by men from both the town and cantonment. The Baka's work was therefore very hard. Baka had for time worked in the barracks of a British regiment and had felt fascinated by the glamour of a white man's life. Since those days, Baka had always aspired to wearing the kind of clothes with the sahibs wore. He had even collected a few items of the kind of dress which he had seen the white man wearing. At the same time, Baka felt very depressed by the uncongenial atmosphere of the colony in which he lived. He used to sleep in a corner of his father's one roomed mud house on a mattresses, while his sister Sohini slept on a cot next to him, and his father Laka and brother Raka slept on the other side of the cot. It was the dawn of a cold day. Baka shivered as he woke up. The time for him to get up and start working in the latrines had come. Before he could himself get up, his father shouted to him in a stern and authoritative voice, asking him to get up and go to attend to his work, failing which the sepoys would be annoyed with him. His father called him the son of a pig while giving him the order. Baka was always abused by his father whenever he showed the least negligence in his work. Baka thought of the days when his mother was alive and when she used to show him all the affection which warmed his heart. Baka got up when he heard his father shouting to him for the second time and asking him to go to work. This time, his father had called him an illegally begotten fellow, meaning and we are so sad to hear that every day this Baka's father is using really it's a very bad words and yelling at him every day. And Baka also now heard the voice of Havildar Charan Singh shouting to him from outside and asking him to clean one of the latrines for him. Baka had now alternative so but to move and start performing his duties. On coming out, Baka was sternly rebuked by Havildar Charan Singh, the well-known hockey player of the 38th Dogras Regiment, for being neglected in his work. Baka immediately cleaned a latrine for the Havildar, who then asked him to meet him in the afternoon of that day in his barracks, when he would give Baka a hockey stick. Baka was fond of playing hockey and he would play the game well also. And Baka now continued to work at the latrines for several hours because a large number of men came to use the latrines. When he had finished his work, he went home expecting some tea. But his sister told him that there was no water in the house and that she should go immediately to the well and bring water. After a while, Sohini returned with some water, which she had been able to obtain with great difficulty because the outcasts were not allowed to use the well, and because she, like the other women of the low caste, had to wait for some kind hearted Hindu to draw the water from the well and pour it into their pitchers. On this occasion, Sohini had bought the water from the priest and of the temple, and the priest had also asked her to start cleaning the courtyard of his house near the temple in the town from that very day. Just I have shown it in the picture that what would happen to Sohini. Just till today also in some of the village areas they are practicing such kind of thing. And Baka had hardly taken some tea with a piece of bread when his father told him that he was not feeling well and that Baka should go to the town as a substitute for him and clean the streets. Baka picked up a big broom and the basket with which his father used to go out to sweep the roads and the streets and set out for the town. On the way to the town, Baka met Ramcharan, the washerman's son, the Chota, the leather worker's son, both of whom were his friends, even though they belonged to higher caste than his own. Ramcharan and Chota were also members of the low caste, but among the low caste, the lowest was the one to which the sweepers like Baka belonged. But Ramcharan and Chota used to play hockey in Baka's company, and they had decided to ignore the difference of caste between him and themselves. Ramcharan told him that his sister was going to be married that day. Baka had known this girl when both he and she used to be little children. And in the years when both were growing up, he had often felt a strong desire to hold her in his embrace. And now that girl was going to be married. Just then, Baka happened also to meet the two young sons of a Babu, who was a military officer. Baka had been very keen to learn to read and write, but the local school did not admit the children of the low caste, and so Baka had failed to get admitted to it. He had not only wanted to learn to read and write, but also speak English like the Sahibs. Now, at his request, the elder son of the Babu agreed to give him lessons for which Baka offered to pay at the rate of an anna per lesson. Baka then resumed his walk to the town. Reaching the gates of the town, Baka brought a packet of red lamp cigarettes from a shop and then lighted a cigarette from the hubble bubble of the cigarette. The cigarette seller had thrown the packet of cigarettes at Baka instead of handing it over to him because Baka was having money. But he did not objected to Baka's lighting a cigarette from his car because Muslims were themselves regarded as low class people by the Hindus. In any case, Baka now went on his way smoking a cigarette. A little later, Baka felt tempted to buy some sweets from a sweetmeat seller's shop. He brought some jalebis worth 4 annas and began to eat the sweets as he walked. The sweetmeat seller had also thrown the jalebis wrapped in paper at him instead of handing over the same to him, because the sweetmeat seller also did not wish to be polluted by the touch of a sweeper. The sweetmeat seller had taken the same precaution as previously the seller of cigarettes had taken. Now, it so happened that Baka passed too close to caste Hindu, who, finding that a sweeper boy had almost touched him, raised an outcry. The Hindu said that he would have to go back home and take a bath once again because he had been polluted by the touch of a sweeper. The Hindu began to use all kinds of abusive words such as swine, dog, son of a bitch, and offspring of a pig for Baka. A crowd collected around Baka who tried to appease the offended Hindu, but without avail. Baka begged the Hindus forgiveness and promised to be more careful in future. But the Hindu did not relent, while the crowd merely stared and jeered at Baka. It was after a good deal of fuss that Baka was allowed to go. Tears had come into Baka's eyes, and he felt most miserable. At this time, his jalebis had fallen down and got scattered on the ground, and even his turban had fallen off his head. He had been regarded as an untouchable, and now in his mind, Baka repeated the word untouchable several times. Now he began to shout to the people to move to one side or the other because he was a sweeper. Baka had now entered the street where a Hindu temple was situated. He had always felt a deep respect for the Hindu deities, the images of which were installed inside the temple. Baka heard the Hindu priest and the worshippers repeating the names of their gods: Rama Ramu, Sri Sri Hari Narayan, Sri Krishna, and also invoking Hanuma and Kalima. Baka was overcome by a desire to take a look at the images of the gods and goddesses. He climbed up and stairs which led to the door of the temple. But before he could see anything, he was disturbed by a man's raising a shout of polluted, 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 on seeing Baka standing very close to the temple door. But the actual reason for the priest shouting had been quite different. As Baka stared at the priest, he was amazed to see his sister Sohini standing behind a man at a little distance. By now, the worshippers in the temple had assembled on the stairs where Baka had been standing. Baka ran down the steps and joined his sister. The crowd declared that A sweeper boy had been standing on the stage and had polluted the temple because, according to the holy books, the temple could be polluted by a low caste man coming within 69 yards of it. The priest now said that while the crowd had been polluted from a distance, he had been polluted by actual contact with a member of the sweeper community. After making this statement, the priest suddenly disappeared. Baka, turning to his sister, found her in tears. He asked her what had happened, why she was weeping. She told him that the priest had summoned her and to clean the courtyard and the latrine in his house, and that when she was cleaning the lavatory, he had come to her inside and tried to molest her. On hearing this, Baka became furious and felt like attacking the crowd of worshippers and killing them all. Besides killing the Brahmin priest, who was the culprit? He asked Sohini if the priest had actually done any harm to her, and she replied that the priest had caught her and held her by her breast. Baka now really wanted to go and kill the priest, but Sohini held him back. Baka and Sohini had now come out of the temple when it occurred to Baka that there was no food in the house and that he must collect some food from the houses, which his father used to visit for the purpose. So, asking Sohini to go home, he turned into a lane where he could ask for food from the housewives. He began to walk from house to house, calling out to the housewives and asking for bread. Bread for the sweeper, mother, bread for the sweeper. He kept shouting at the doorsteps. However, nobody heard him. Feeling tired, he sat down on the steps of one house and, in his state of exhaustion, fell asleep. After a few moments, however, he was awakened by a voice of a sadhu asking for food. One of the housewives came out and gave the sadhu some alms, while she rebuked Baka using abusive words for him because he had sat down upon her doorstep and defiled her house. Eventually, Baka left the town carrying just two chapatis, one of which a housewife had given him, and the other had been thrown at him by another woman from the fourth story of a house. The second chapati had fallen down on a pavement, and Baka had picked it up from there. At home, Baka narrated all that had happened to him in the town to his father, who tried to console him with the argument that the Hindus ill treated the sweepers because of the compulsions of their religion. The old man also told him that some of the Hindus were really kind, and he narrated to Baka an incident showing the essential kindness of some of the Hindus. Baka now went to Ramcharan's house in order to witness the wedding of Ramcharan's sister. However, he could not enter the house because he belonged to a much lower caste than Ramcharan and had therefore to remain content with standing away from the house in Chota's company. A little later, Ramcharan joined them and gave them some sweets which he had brought with him from the house without letting his mother know about his act. Then Baka went to the military barracks in the cantonment, where Charat Singh treated him with great kindness and gave him some tea, in addition to giving him a hockey stick, which was almost new. Baka felt deeply grateful to Charat Singh for having treated him as a human being and not as an untouchable. In the afternoon, Baka joined Chota and Ramcharan to take part in the hockey match, which was to be played against the boys of the 31st Punjabis. Here, as ill luck would have it, the younger son of the Babu was hit by a stone hurled by Ramcharan at the members of the opposite team because of a dispute which had occurred between the teams. Baka lifted the injured boy and carried him to his house, where the boy's mother began to scold and abuse Baka for having polluted her young son by having carried him in his arms. Baka felt surprised to find that the woman had begun to abuse him without even waiting to hear from him what happened. This ill treatment by the woman whose wounded son he had taken to her further depressed and dismayed Baka. Leaving the boy with her, Baka walked out of her house. Baka's next experience that day was an encounter with Colonel Hutchinson, chief of the local Salvation Army. This man was very kind hearted and he tried to console Baka even though he did not know the reason for Baka's state of depression. Colonel Hutchinson, wanting to convert the sweeper boy to Christianity, spoke to him about Christ, about the need of confess one's sins, and about the forgiveness of one's sins by God. Baka, however, did not feel much interested in Colonel Hutchinson's talk because, in the first place, he did not understand what the colonel was talking about, and secondly, because he did not wish to convert it to a different religion. However, Baka felt deeply grateful to the colonel for having talked to him kindly and sympathetically. Colonel Hutchinson's wife struck Baka as an ill natured woman. Soon Baka left Colonel Hutchinson's company and went away toward the railway station. In the Golbagh nearby, a crowd had gathered to listen to Mahatma Gandhi, who was coming there to address the people on the subject of untouchability. Baka had heard the name of Mahatma Gandhi, and so he joined the crowd to listen to him. The first impression that we get about Mahatma Gandhi while going through the novel Untouchable is the high respect in which he was held by the people. A large crowd has gathered in the Golbagh to listen to the great man whose arrival is greeted with the words Mahatma Gandhi ji ki jai. There is a lot of excitement among the large crowd which has assembled. The crowd is shouting Gandhiji's name, which has a magic effect even upon Baka, the sweeper boy, who does not know anything about the great man connection. Baka finds that among the crowd there are lallas from the town, Kashmiri Muslims from the local carpet factories, Sikh rustics from the nearby villages, red cheeked Pathans, and black faced Indian Christian girls from the Salvation Army colony, and also men and women from the outcast colony. Here, their Baka also sees a stray European. All these people have come to pay their homage to Mahatma Mohan Karamchand Gandhiji. Baka feels that there is an insuperable barrier between himself and the large crowd. It is the barrier of caste. He is certainly part of a consciousness which he can share, but he cannot understand. He feels that he had been lifted from the gutter to partake of a life which is his and yet not his. He finds himself in the midst of a humanity which includes him in its folds, and yet debars from him from and debars him from entering into a living contact with it. Gandhi alone unites him with the crowd around him because Gandhi is in everybody's mind, including Baka's mind. It seems to Baka that Gandhi might ultimately unite him with his crowd in every other respect too. Baka eagerly recalls all that he had heard of his man. People had said that Gandhi was a saint, that he was an avatar or an incarnation of the gods, Vishnu and Krishna. Even the government is afraid of him. Baka now hears a Hindu saying. The Hindu adds that the local magistrate had withdrawn his order against Gandhiji's entry into Bulandshahr. Another Hindu says that actually the government has released Gandhiji from jail unconditionally. A rustic nearby asks if Gandhiji can overthrow the government, and Babu replies that Gandhiji certainly has that power and that he can even change the whole world. The British government is nothing before him. The Babu goes on to say, the Babu further says that India's dharmic culture makes this country superior to the West. Neither cigarettes, nor cinemas, nor sensual pleasures can lead to the path of religious discipline, which alone is the highest bliss in the world. Gandhi would show this path to the modern world, and Gandhi would teach the Indian people the true religion of a love of God. One of the men listening to the Babu's words feels deeply impressed. To this man, Gandhi had been a legend, a tradition, and an oracle. His wife had told him of a miracles which this saint could perform. He had heard from time to time that Gandhi was the incarnation of Lord Krishna. Baka now recalls having heard that Gandhi was very keen on uplifting the untouchables. It had been rumored that Gandhi had been fasting for the sake of bhangis and chamars. Of course, Baka cannot quite understand what fasting has to do with helping the people of the low caste. Probably Gandhi thinks that by not eating food for a few days, he can save it for the poor. Then Baka hears a Congress worker telling the crowd that the government has allowed Gandhi to come out of jail on condition that he can speak to the people only on behalf of the Harijans and for the removal of untouchability. Baka wonders what the word Harijan means. Perhaps this word has something to do with the Bangis and Chamars. Baka thinks within himself. Baka would like to tell Gandhi his experience of that today and to inform him how he had been slapped for having accidentally touched a caste Hindu. At last, Mahatma Gandhi arrives. He is accompanied by his wife Kasturibai Gandhi and an English woman, Miraben. Mahatma Gandhi ji ki jai, Mahatma Gandhi ji ki jai. The crowd shouts. The Mahatma raises his right arm and blesses the crowd with a gentle benediction. Someone stands up to sing a hymn. The crowd and the Mahatma closes his eyes as if lost in prayer. After the hymn singing ends, the Mahatma begins his speech. Gandhiji begins by saying that he would speak only about the so called untouchables whom the government has tried to alienate from Hinduism by giving them a separate legal and political status. Gandhiji then tells his listeners that the Indians themselves have for centuries been trampling upon the millions of human beings without feeling the slightest regret. He says that he had undertaken a fast to death for the sake of those downtrodden millions in obedience to the call of his consciousness. The Gandhiji further says that he believes untouchability to be the greatest blot on Hinduism and that he had been holding this belief ever since his childhood. Gandhiji goes on to relate the story of a scavenger named Uka who used to clean the latrines in his house and whom he was not allowed to touch. Gandhiji had, in those days, told his mother that she was wrong in thinking that any physical contact with Uka was sinful. Gandhiji used to touch the so called untouchables when he went to school, and he never concealed this fact from his parents. Baka, at this point, feels as if he himself is Uka, the scavenger. By virtue of this feeling, he thinks himself to be nearer the Mahatma, who appears to be a genuine sympathizer of the scavengers. Gandhiji then declares that if he were to be reborn, he would wish to be reborn as an untouchable, so that he might share the sorrows, the sufferings, and the insults undergone by that class of people. It is his prayer that if he is to be reborn, he should be reborn not as a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, a Vaishya, or a Shudra, but as an outcast and as an untouchable. Gandhiji further says that he loves scavenging and that in his ashram, an 18-year-old Brahmin lad is doing the scavenger's work in order to teach the lesson of cleanliness to ashram sweepers. This Brahmin lad says Gandhiji is a regular reader of the Gita and he regularly says his prayers. But this lad feels that his achievement would be incomplete until he has also become a perfect scavenger. Baka feels thrilled to hear these words of Gandhiji about that Brahmin lad, and also he is also delighted to hear Gandhiji's wish to be born as an outcast in his next life. Baka begins to adore Gandhiji in his mind. Baka would like to do anything and everything for Gandhiji. In fact, he would like to go and work as a scavenger in Gandhiji's ashram. Continuing his speech, Gandhiji says that the untouchable should realize that by working as sweepers and scavengers, they are cleaning Hindu society, but that in order to succeed in their work, they must purify their own lives first and must cultivate habits of cleanliness. Those among them who are addicted to the habits of drinking alcohol and eating meat must get rid of such habits. If the untouchables are oppressed by the Hindus, the fault does not lie with the Hindu religion, but with the people who profess this religion. At this point, Baka feels that the Mahatma is not fair because he is blaming the untouchables by referring to their habits of eating meat and drinking. Gandhiji further urges the sweeper to stop accepting the leftovers of the meals of the high caste Hindus. The sweeper should accept only grains and not rotten grains, but sound and wholesome grains. These words of the Mahatma are more to Baka's liking. Baka would now like to tell the Mahatma that in that very town, on that very day, he had felt compelled to pick up a loaf of bread from near the gutter, and that his brother had found it necessary to accept leavings of the food from the plates of the sepoys. The great man's words have the effect of a balm on Baka's troubled mind. Baka wishes that Gandhiji should tell his father not to treat Baka so harshly because Baka is already a victim of the callousness of and ill treatment by the caste Hindus. Gandhiji then goes on to say that he is an orthodox Hindu and that he knows that the Hindus are not sinful by nature. The Hindus are only sunk in ignorance. Gandhiji further says that all public wells, temples, roads, schools, and hospitals should be declared open to the untouchables. Gandhiji warns all those who love him to carry on propaganda against untouchability, at the same time taking care that they do not use compulsion or brute force in securing this end. Gandhiji says that peaceful persuasion is the only means to this end. Two of the strongest desires of Gandhiji at this time are the emancipation of untouchables and the protection of the cow. When these desires are fulfilled, India would really be free, and his own soul would also feel free, says Gandhiji. He concludes his lecture with the words, "May God give you strength to work out your soul's salvation at the end." Gandhiji's lecture contains the second possible solution to Baka's problem and to the problem of the entire class of sweepers and scavengers. The other two solutions are the one proposed by Colonel Hutchinson, which is conversion to Christianity, and the other proposed by Iqbal Nath, which is the introduction of the flush system. However, it is evident to us that Gandhiji's solution is the best because Hindus themselves would oppose any large scale of conversion of the sweepers to Christianity. And as for the introduction of the flush system, that cannot by itself remove untouchability, though it would enable the sweepers to get rid of an unpleasant duty. In any case, all the solutions suggested that in this book are now absolute because the constitution of free India has already done away with untouchability, at least legally and in theory. Apart from that, the government of the day has introduced a system of special rights and privileges for the backward classes. which include the sweeper community. Now, many Hindus themselves try to obtain some of them are try to obtain the first certificate to effect that they belong to the backward class, and they do so in order to avail those special rights and privileges. But even these constitutional guarantees cannot do away with the caste system as such. In fact, the caste system has become even more rigid in this country, and the problem of caste and class prejudices has become even more complicated than before. The goal of secularism is still far, far away and seems, in fact, to have become unattainable. Equal North Star of a casteless and classless society has proved to be only empty rhetoric. Gandhiji's solution, namely peaceful persuasion, remains by far the best. Commenting on the introduction of Gandhiji into this novel, a critic says that Anand has presented the image of Gandhiji in this novel with superb skill, both as regards the great man's physical appearance and as regards the magic spell which that great man used to cast upon the people. The loud cries of Mahatma Gandhi ki jai, repeated again and again, suddenly stop as the Mahatma raises his hand in benediction. Anand sums up the unique mass appeal of Gandhiji in one single sentence. This strange man seemed to have the genius that could, by a single dramatic act, rally multicolored, multi tongued India to himself. The stage is set for Gandhiji to speak, but his power lies not so much in his message as in what he has come to signify to the common mind. It is for this reason that Anand devotes twice as many pages to the Gandhi legend, and the audience excitement and jubilation at the Gandhiji's arrival as to Gandhiji's speech. This speech, our critic tells us, has been drawn from Gandhiji's autobiography and from Gandhiji's other writings. The opening words of this speech are unintelligible to Baka. But when Gandhi says that he regards untouchability as the greatest blot on Hinduism, when he elaborates on it in personal terms with reference to his reactions to untouchability during his childhood, Baka feels thrilled. Next, when Gandhiji asks the untouchables to improve their lot by giving up such evil habits as drinking and eating meat, Baka feels confused and thinks that Gandhiji is differing from the main issue. Gandhiji's concluding remarks about Gandhiji's two desires. The first one is the emancipation of the untouchables and the protection of the cow come as something of the shock to the reader because the very serious social evil of untouchability is being equated with something which is much less important. To bracket a social evil like untouchability with a religious practice like the protection of the cow may, however, be interpreted as lending even greater importance and emphasis to untouchability. Gandhiji's genius lay out in his doctrines, which were often inconsistent, but in the subtle manner in which he could feel the pulse of the people and win them over. Gandhiji, or what he stands for, is then the second remedy offered to Baka. Baka must passively wait for the change of heart in the Hindus of India. Anything following Gandhiji's visit to the town of Bulandshahr was bound to come as an anticlimax. And that is what happens in the novel too, says our critic. A group of people do remain behind, arguing about Gandhiji's views. But Baka is too much under Gandhiji's spell to listen to anyone else. Though he does not hear equal north solution, which is the introduction of the flesh system. Ultimately, Baka goes home thinking of Gandhiji and thinking also of the possibility of the introduction of the flush system, though he does not know exactly how the flush system works. Mahatma Gandhi's philosophy permeates fiction as well as non fiction in Indian writings. both in English and other languages. From Mulkraj Anand to Sarojini Naidu, the life of Gandhi has inspired every writer who later gave different interpretations to his sayings. Their writings were laden with Gandhian idealism, lifestyles, his teachings, and anti colonial attitudes. Gandhi as a character appears in many dramas, novels, stories, and poems. Mulk Raj Anand's untouchable revolves around Baka, an untouchable, as the hope of emancipation of untouchables. When the Gandhi called Harijans children of God had also long worked for their emancipation. Gandhiji, who regarded untouchability as the blot on Hinduism, wanted to do away with it completely. He wrote in 1920 that without the removal of the taint, Swaraj is a meaningless term. He wrote in Young India in April 1925 uh, the temple, public wells, and public schools must be open to untouchable equally with caste Hindus. He started two journals, Harijana and Young India, through which he advocated his ideas. He believed that opportunities of education and temple entry would reduce social inequality between Harijans and caste Hindus. He launched movements for cleaning residential areas by digging wells for them and for similar other beneficial things. He started an ashram where people of all castes and creeds could come and stay without any differences. He said that he did not want to be reborn, but he wished to be reborn as an untouchable, an outcast, so that he may share their sorrows, sufferings, and affronts leveled at them. In order to that, he may endure to free himself and them from the miserable condition. At last, I'm concluding this paper that Gandhiji is the world's greatest teacher of mankind. Gandhiji insisted on high thinking and simple living, which was also reflected and highlighted by the literary English authors of the time, mainly Rajarao, Mulkraj Anand, and R.K. Narayan in their novels and stories, who portrayed the real picture of the society from various perspectives, thereby presenting the influence of Gandhiji on Indian villages and towns. Inspired by Gandhi's simple style and approach to literature, they turned to the grim reality of the contemporary socio political scene, averting their attention from writing historical adventure stories or mystery novels. They were interested in depiction of the life of the common man, the poor, and the marginalized. At the end, I'm quoting the Gandhiji's words that our struggle does not end so long as there is a single human being considered untouchable on account of his birth, which was said by M.K. Gandhi. This is about my paper. Uh, if anybody wants ask any queries regarding this paper, you can ask any participants.
Now the session is open to all. Please, if you are in query regarding Mulkraj Anand's Untouchable, really it is a very nice story that I have already read when I was in my undergraduate level. There we had also another novel which has been prescribed by our university, that is Coolie. That is the story of Munnu. Really, it was also very interesting and very nice novel.
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
Is there any question or query from the audience? I think no, ma'am. We will move to the last part of this today's session. I would like to present the vote of thanks to our today's resource person, Bharati K. Ma'am. Ma'am is working as an assistant professor at Department of English, Bharati College, autonomous. It is autonomous college
Yes.
from Karnataka. Thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation as a resource person and giving your valuable time. Really, it was a very nice and very beautiful presentation by you, because the way you were narrating the story, the way you were telling the story, how the interaction between Gandhi and Baka, really, it was very nice. I was thinking that like I am in a theater and I'm watching that movie, like that.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Really, I enjoyed this novel. Thank you so much. I'm also very much thankful to the honorable principal of my college for giving me an opportunity to organize this 25 days national seminar series on national education policy. And thank you so much, ma'am, for accepting our invitation and giving a beautiful, fruitful, knowledgeable session to us. Thank you so much. I'm very much thankful to our honorable vice principal of my college, Dr. Vittalji Chauhan sir, for being here. Also, Jasbir Singh, sir, is the principal of this college. I'm very much thankful to Jasbir sir. Also, I'm very much thankful to Dr. All the respected participants, those who have participated in our college librarian, Dr. Sadashiv Varvate sir. Today he has defended his thesis. Today he has been awarded PhD degree from Swami Ramanand Marathoda Institute, Nanded. He is my best friend and my colleague. I heartily congratulate Dr. Sadashiv Varvate sir for becoming a PhD holder, getting awarded the PhD degree from SRT Nanded. I once again I would like to heartily congratulate my dear friend Dr. Sadashiv Varvate sir. And with the permission of chair, I conclude here my remarks and the session has been over. Thank you so much, ma'am. Really, it
Thank
was
you,
very
sir.
nice,
Thank you so much.
wonderful session. Really.
Thank you
Okay,
so
thank
much,
you.
sir. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.